Hi, I'm Melanie Royals with Royal Design Studio. Do you have a room in your house that you'd like to make a little more special, but you're short on time or money or both? Well, I think I have the perfect solution for you. Stencil it. I stenciled this feature wall in just a matter of hours using chalk paint by Annie Sloan and our Royal Design Studio 3-inch stencil brush. The stencil brush is amazing. You can see how thick and dense the bristles are. That means it holds a lot of paint, it allows you to stencil very quickly and with a lot of control. And the chalk paint is ideal for stenciling because it covers so well and dries so fast. Now let's see how I stencil this wall. We started by base coating this one wall with 2 coats of a custom chalk paint mix. We mixed 2 parts cocoa to 1 part country gray chalk paint and stirred well. Because of the light texture on the wall, we used a 1/2-inch nap roller for semi-smooth to rough surfaces. We rolled on 2 coats of the chalk paint color mix and let it dry overnight. Whenever you are stenciling a symmetrical design, like a damask pattern in a defined space such as a feature or accent wall, you want to start with the pattern centered perfectly on the wall. This way the pattern will end at the same place at each of the adjoining walls. Use a piece of chalk or a chalk pencil and a bubble level to draw a light plumb line on the wall from the ceiling down to the floor. Begin your stencil project by positioning the stencil with the top edge pushed right up against the ceiling line. Check to be sure that your chalk line is running right through the center of the main design element of the stencil pattern. You can then use a small level to make sure that the stencil itself is level on the wall. Pour a small amount of your paint color out onto a styrofoam plate. Be sure to keep your can of paint covered while you're working so that it doesn't dry out on you. Load your stencil brush by dipping just the tips of the brush straight into the paint. Offload the paint onto paper towels using a hard circular motion. This will remove the excess paint and will also help to distribute the paint evenly on the brush and work the paint into the bristles really well. Use a circular motion again as you stencil, but now with a lighter pressure to apply the paint evenly through the stencil openings. When you're first starting, you should stencil just a little bit. Then carefully lift just one edge of the stencil up to make sure that you're getting a nice clean print without any paint seeping under the stencil. If you are getting paint seeping under the stencil, it means that you simply didn't offload the paint well enough. Always remember, with stenciling, less is more. Start light and build up your color slowly. After stenciling your first repeat, move the stencil down and align it perfectly by lining up the design elements that are included in the window registration that is part of the stencil. Each time you reload the stencil brush with paint, you want to make sure to offload it again. Chalk paint is quite forgiving as a stencil paint because it has a thicker consistency, but you still don't want to forget to offload. Continue stenciling by repeating the stencil down your center line until you reach the floor. Be sure to occasionally check that the stencil is level as you move around your wall. You will probably not end up with a full repeat at the floor, and you'll have to bend the stencil a bit, which is not a problem. Mylar stencils are very flexible and durable. Here, it might be best to switch to a smaller stencil brush and stencil as you push the stencil into the corner. This wall had the baseboards removed at the time for a floor project, so it was a bit easier for us to finish it at the floor line. Once you finish stenciling the center line, you'll continue to repeat the pattern to the right and left, out towards the walls. It will be easier to maintain the registration of the pattern if you just continue to work in lines from floor to ceiling. When you move the stencil over to repeat it, you will now have a different set of window registration marks that are cut into the pattern that will help you again to line up the repeat perfectly. At some point or points during your stencil project, the paint will start building up too much so that you should stop and clean your stencil. Lay the stencil out on a flat surface of heavy plastic, like a garbage bag, and spray it with Matzenbacher's Liftoff No. 5, which is a latex paint remover. After a few minutes, scrub the paint off both sides of the stencil with a stiff bristled scrub brush. Alternatively, you can clean it in a large laundry tub or even a bathtub. Once it's clean, rinse it off and pat it dry with a clean towel. And now you're ready to continue on with a fresh stencil. Okay, we're almost done. Now we just have to finish the pattern at the adjoining walls. When you're stenciling an accent wall, you'll want to use a really good quality painter's tape and tape off to protect your ceiling line, the adjoining walls, and baseboards. To stencil into the corner, take the tape off the side of the stencil, which is on the wall that you're not stenciling on, and make sure that you have good fresh tape on the side that you are stenciling on. Position the stencil repeat as usual. Leave the other side hanging free. Use a smaller brush again to stencil the pattern right into the corners, while you push the stencil as much as you can into the corner with your free hand. Make sure you offload your stencil brush well so you don't have paint bleed unders here. If you have any touch-up to do at the end, and it's most likely that you will, you can just simply use some artist brushes. Use the wall base color to paint back in where you might have had any paint bleed under the stencil. You can also use an artist brush with a stencil color to paint back in areas of the design that might not have gotten stenciled in too cleanly. And now we're back at our finished wall. Now that you've seen how fast and easy it is to stencil a wall like this, I really hope that you're inspired and confident enough to do it for yourself. We have hundreds of different stencil patterns available at royaldesignstudio.com, along with our signature stencil brushes and chalk paint by Annie Sloan. If you like this video, please be sure and leave us a comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd like you to come back often, and we don't want you to miss a thing.